Part of the serenity prayer is, Lord, give me courage to accept the things that I cannot change. Why does this bring serenity? Well, this is an act of faith that you know that if something happened that you cannot understand why that's causing you pain, after you've prayed for God to remove that or to take it away, if it is still there, there's a step of faith we need to take that will bring us peace, that will take away the emotional part of that suffering. And that is to accept it by faith as the will of God, even though I don't understand it. And just then trust Him. There's a song that says, if you can't trust His hand, trust His heart. If you can't figure out why, just trust His heart, that God has a reason, and that you may never come to know what that is in this life, but you can trust that God is at work and that you will glorify Him as an act of faith through this. So Job is a perfect example. When he heard that he had lost his family, he tore his robes off, he grieved deeply, he fell down to the ground and worshiped the Lord, and he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. You see, he processed it there with the Lord unto acceptance, and he knew he could not change it. We just cannot change it, but we need to accept it in order to move forward by faith with God. Sometimes that takes a little while, and that's okay. God's patient. Just process it with Him unto that spot. But then Job's health was taken from him, and he was in chronic pain every day. And he was there seated in silence, and his friends came and just wept with him and grieved with him and were there with him and never said a word. If the book ended there, we would have learned a lot. But we learn a further lesson because they started trying to figure out and blame Job about why this has all happened to Job. And Job complained to the Lord about his whole lot and about his health, and he wished he'd never been born, and he just poured that out to the Lord, which is important when we're trying to process it to get it to acceptance. Well, he does that for several chapters, and then the Lord speaks out of a whirlwind and says, who is this that darkens my counsel? In other words, we are not God, and our thoughts are not His thoughts. He's got a purpose behind everything, and we need to accept that on faith and come to peace and know that God is going to work all things together for good, even though we do not see how that could happen. And so Job then, after God spoke, he said this, now I know that no plan of yours can be thwarted. Then he said, surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. Now Job never did understand it all. God never explained it to him. He does now, but He didn't then. And God will not explain it to us, and sometimes in this life we'll never know why stuff happened. But if we accept it by faith after we process it with God, then we'll come to peace. Then God will give us His strength, His grace, that will see us through, that will walk us through whatever it is that He has willed us to experience. And so I don't know what's going on in your life right now. There's a lot going on in the world, but let's remember that God is over all. We can trust His heart and walk through it by grace. And may the Lord give us all courage to accept the things that we cannot change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And may the Lord Jesus be with your spirit.